Hello and welcome to another video in the Adulting 101 series brought to you by the Ocean County Library. My name is Jamie Novak. I'm the author of this book, Keep This, Toss That. And our program today is based on chapters from this book. So my hope is over the next 35 minutes to share with you a handful of ideas that are going to be really helpful in the level of organization in your home and your life today. Whether you're just moving into your very first place, maybe it's a first apartment, or you've been in your home for 40 years and have boxes and boxes of treasures and accumulations. The great news is that the tips I'm going to share with you right now will be useful today and tomorrow. So let's get started, because if you're ready to declutter and get organized, I'm going to share with you 3 simple things to think about right off the bat. So if you want to take some notes, grab your phone or a pen and paper. If you're going to take notes with a pen and paper, just be sure you know where you're going to put them so you'll be able to reference them later. Otherwise, your notes may become one of the many papers in a pile sitting on a flat surface somewhere in your home, probably the kitchen table. At least that's what happens over here a lot of the time. All right, so if you're ready, let's take some notes. We're going to start with the 3 things that we just kind of golden rules across the board. Then we'll get into specifics. I brought clutter with me from my very own home to share with you. There'll be an opportunity for a teeny tiny timed tidy up together. So I hope you're interested in taking a short action with me. So by the end of this video, you will have jump-started your decluttering process. All right, so number 1. We always want to try to group similar things together. Group like with like. And so this is just kind of one of those basic ideas across the board that when you put similar things together, things that you use together for a similar purpose, well, the thing is you'll be able to find what you're looking for. So they'll all be together. You know how many you have of them. So what would this look like? All of your spices together. Then you know if you have 2 or 6 open bottles of paprika, and all of your shirts together. So you know exactly how many white t-shirts you have. And then you can make better decisions about which ones to keep and maybe which ones to share or sell or donate or recycle or pass along or whatever we do to toss those items. So it's keep this and toss that. Number 1, we are grouping similar items together. That's just going to be a great technique across the board, so your similar items are kept together. Now, where are we storing them? We want to store the items in the most convenient spot located closest to where you use them. So this is another one of those sort of moments where you go, gosh, that seems so like, yeah, how did I not think of that? And maybe you have for some things, but think about it for other things. Is it possible that items are piling up because you just aren't putting them away because the location to put them away isn't convenient at the end of the time you're using them? Okay, so what does that mean? Well, for me, I've taken up some watercoloring lately. I'm not really great, but I have a lot of fun with it. So I find myself doing the watercolors actually at my desk because that's where my biggest monitor is, and I'm able to clear the desk a little bit to create some space to do my watercoloring classes. So my watercolors used to be kept in the craft cabinet, which is all the way over there. But I find myself leaving the watercolor stuff out on my desk because there's going to be another class. Well, that's not great. So I came up with the idea of putting everything from the watercolor class in a box, putting the box on a shelf right next to my computer. So now what that allows me to do is it's class time, pull everything out. Otherwise, I would have left it there to put away later, and I think we all know later's never happening. So number 1, we are grouping similar items together. Then we're storing them in the most convenient spot. Now, here comes the tricky part. When we're storing things, number 3 on our list is we want to give ourselves limits. The limits are going to say, based on the amount of space I have. So, is this your first apartment? Maybe it's a studio with very limited storage, and you can't really put in solutions for long term because if you're renting, you can't really modify the space. Or maybe you're in your home, and so it's got a few different bedrooms and a bunch of closets, and maybe you have more space. So, based on the space that you have to store the categories of items you want to keep, we want to look at how much space do you want to designate for any one category. Then give yourself containers or boxes or anything else where you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to put this category in this box or this category in this bin. And then you know when it's filled to the brim, you're done. And if you want to keep one more thing, something has to come out. So you're giving yourself automatic limits. Containers are great. Shop at home, see what you have in your recycling or where else you may have other boxes and bins and things that you could use before you run out and buy a bunch of new stuff. We don't want to buy new things. That's bringing stuff in, and our idea is to get stuff out and organize what we have and what we want to keep. So look for containers that you already have that you can repurpose. Give yourself that limit and label them. So we love containers because it gives us a limit. It contains the item so things aren't falling all over shelves, and even in drawers, containers work really well. So you're grouping things by category, label them so you know what's inside, and then at a glance, you can see what you have, find what you're looking for, and you just get that sense of relief of, I'm organized, I'm saving time, I'm saving money, and I feel great about my space. I know what I have, I can use it up before it goes bad. If you think of food items or just things in storage, don't tend to last forever, right? They disintegrate in storage and things can happen to them. So we want to use our stuff, but we have to give ourselves access to it so we can use it. So I'm excited for these first 3 guidelines. I hope you're loving them. We want to group similar items together. We want to contain them closest to where we're using them. That gives us the best chance of putting them away when we're done. And then, of course, we want to contain them in a way that we can see what we have labeled so we can find it again. Now, ready for a little secret? If you've ever been so envious of those makeover shows where you see a perfectly organized space, they open a pantry or a linen closet, anything at all, and you're like, oh, that looks so great. And you're wondering, well, how can I get that look in my home? So probably what you'll notice, and now that I'm saying it, you'll go, of course, but maybe it didn't catch your eye the first time you looked, and that is they're usually using uniform containers, and the labels are the same size, the same style, the same print, located the same spot on each container. So there's not one over here and one up and down and all over. They're very clearly labeled the same style, the same size, and the same placement on the containers. So whether you're going to upgrade and get all of a similar container or you're just looking to have containers repurposed from around your home, you can take something like a contact paper and just attach it to the front of containers so that they all sort of look similar if that's what you're going for. But that feels very perfect. And I don't know that we're striving for perfect. I think we just want progress. So don't feel like it has to be the cover of Organizer Monthly Magazine ready. It needs to work for you. And I love this idea of there's no cookie cutter solution. We just want it to work for you. So I'm going to give you some organizing tips and storage ideas in different rooms of your house. We're going to get there in just a moment. Before we do, if you're in the process of paring down, possibly to donate or to sell some things, I want to give you some techniques where we can begin there. Then we'll move into specific ideas for certain categories and, of course, our timed moment together. This is where I'm going to set a timer and I'll talk to you a little bit more about this technique, but you'll have the opportunity to join me for a 5-minute tidy up. And if you're thinking, but Jamie, I just moved into my first apartment, I can't even think about unpacking these boxes. Or I've been in my home for 40 years and I still haven't unpacked all the boxes. Is 5 minutes going to be enough to tidy up a table or go through papers or start to sort something? And it absolutely will be enough to do a teeny tiny project all the way through, or to start or continue a larger project. So I love this idea of taking little bites of things where you see success, and then the success motivates you to take the next success, and all of a sudden you're really feeling inspired to get organized. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where we would begin if we're thinking to go through cabinets and closets, and maybe your clothes or the kitchen, or maybe things in the attic, the basement, the garage, things in storage. Where would we begin? So where I'd love for you to begin is before you touch a thing, let's set up a staging area. Now, this staging area is going to be dedicated space where you're going to have clearly labeled containers to accept the items by category or by what you're going to do with them, so you will know where to put the things you find along the way. For example, your staging area may have a category that says fix. So if there's anything that you come across that needs to be repaired, specifically if it's clothing that you're going through, then that might be one for the tailor that you would clearly label that bag, box, container, whatever it is where you're collecting those pieces. If it's something to sell, then again, you could have a sell pile. If it's something to donate and you know specifically where you're going to donate it, put the organization name. If it's simply just to donate in general, and I'll give you a few resources for this, then go ahead and pop it into donation, and that way you can just gather everything in one place. So think about the different categories that you might need: recycle, shred, donate. Fix is another one, of course. We talked about that. So set that up in advance. Otherwise, what might happen is, as you're going through the different areas of your home, finding things to toss out in one of these categories, well, what happens is it becomes another pile, and we don't need another pile. So they'll be clearly organized, because otherwise it'll be a big mix-up, and then you'll have to go through that pile again, and that wastes time and energy, and it doesn't really feel very successful at all. So where are we setting this up? Well, it depends. And if you're sort of limited on space, you might set it up in the trunk of a car. You might set it up right at the entryway of your home if you have a closet or one corner where you can start to put these different categories. And it doesn't have to be a big space, doesn't have to be a huge bunch of boxes, but just clearly designated spaces to collect stuff. So now that we have our staging zone, right, where we're going to put things as we find them, it's time to really dive into our project. Now, clearly labeled containers or boxes is super important. If you're putting things into trash bags to get out the door, clearly label the bag, because all these bags, when they're filled, look remarkably similar. And then you're going to have to waste time going through the bag to figure out what was meant to go in there. So just clearly label the bag as to what's happening with it. Is it going to a friend? Is it going to a neighbor? Are you donating it? Are you recycling it? What's happening with the items in that container? Okay, so we have our staging area ready to go. And you know I love setting a timer. I talked to you a little bit about why I love it. It's just a little burst of time. Our challenge is to work for the length of time. Whether or not your project is finished doesn't really matter. You've made significant progress. So we're going to do a little time tidy up a little bit later in our video time together. Right now, we've set up our staging zone. You are choosing your category. So choose your adventure. Which space do you want to pare down and organize first? Is it clothes? Is it paper? Is it a tabletop? Is it a home office? Is it a cabinet in the kitchen? Not the whole kitchen, one cabinet. Not the whole bathroom, one vanity drawer. Not the whole bedroom, one dresser drawer, or the nightstand, or the end table. It's not the whole house. It's not the whole room. It's one very small category where you can make progress. Otherwise, it's overwhelming. And who has the time and energy to dive in? So choose your own category. Where would you like to begin? If you have more than one spot that is annoying you, that's frustrating you, where you find yourself wasting time and energy, then make a list and just choose and tick them off the list as you go. So think about where you'd like to begin, and then we get started. So let's say you were ready to dive into that kitchen space. This will be the time to reconsider all the water bottles. How many do you need? All the travel mugs, all the coffee mugs. So remember we said grouping like with like. Well, this is where we begin. You bring all the water bottles together, and then from that collection you go, oh wait, I only have a few. I need them all. I'm keeping them. Great. Or I'm keeping these because they're my favorite, but these other ones can go, and that will work beautifully too. So you can donate water bottles, the ones that aren't your favorite, the ones that don't dispense the water the way you like it, the ones that are difficult to clean, they don't go in the dishwasher. Whatever the reason is that you don't love them, those are the ones that you want to go ahead and put to the side and maybe share them. And I'll give you those resources for donating in just a moment. So we've got our idea, right? That would be just the water bottles, not the whole kitchen, not the whole kitchen cabinet, not all the spaces. It's just that one little area. But that one little area, you go, wow, in just a few minutes, I did that. I wonder what I could do next. And then you move on to things like spices. The spice cabinet, where you're like, okay, this one's out of date. This one's not my favorite. I'm never going to use this up. This one's almost finished. I'll use it up with dinner tonight. This one's expired. It should have gone a long time ago. You can always check out stilltasty.com. S-T-I-L-L, tasty, T-A-S-T-Y, Still Tasty. Pop in what you have, like a perishable food item. and it will tell you whether or not you should consume it based on how long you've had it. So that can be really helpful. If you have something with an expiration date that you can't read, if you have the Apple phone, you probably have a magnifier on it. If you have an Android phone, then you can take a picture of the item with the expiration date and then just enlarge the picture. And that would be a really easy way to go ahead and see the expiration date on that. So if something's small and too small to read, taking a photo can be a great technique for figuring out, oh, should I keep it or not? I have to read the expiration, and then there you go. Okay, so we are maybe doing the spices and just looking those over and seeing which ones should I keep, which ones can I let go of, which ones can I finish up, and where am I storing them? Are they clearly labeled? Are they in the best cabinet? The ones that you reach for all the time to prepare dinner should be front and center, right? That's the prime real estate, let's say. So you want everything you reach for all the time, and then the less frequently used items more towards the back. Speaking about more towards the back, where it's kind of dark and you might not be able to see the space as well, thinking about under a sink or in the way back of a drawer or a cabinet, the bottom of the closet, right? The floor. If it's not well illuminated, adding a little lighting can be a great technique to be able to see what you have and keep the space a lot more organized. There is battery operated stick-up lighting. Honestly, you don't even need to stick it up. You can just lay it there. So if you don't feel comfortable, you don't want to put a screw in the wall, or you don't even want to adhere the hook and loop tape, or you're renting and you don't want to do any of that, you can just lay it there on the shelf or on the floor of the closet. But by it illuminating the space, it's going to be so easy to see what you have and to keep it a lot more organized. When I get my battery operated LED lights, I prefer the ones that are motion activated. That way I don't accidentally burn out the batteries forgetting to turn it off. So when you open the door, it turns on, and when you shut the door, it turns off. So battery operated, motion activated, stick up lighting can be a great thing. If it's within your budget, it's usually about $20, depends on where you pick it up. Sometimes you get a pack of a few. If it's not on your budget, add it to your wish list for your upcoming birthday, right? And they'll be like, you're asking for lighting, but it's one of those things that's just going to make your life a whole lot easier. So think about that when you're putting items away. Choose your category. When you're in that kitchen junk drawer, we have to talk about all the condiments from the takeout. So that would be something to reconsider. And then all the rubber bands, all the writing implements, the ones that the cap was left off and it doesn't write anymore, the promotional pens that doesn't have any more ink. These are all things that unfortunately sometimes things just need to be tossed. Other times we can recycle or donate them. If you're not sure where to recycle things, you can check earth911.com, earth911.com. Great resource, top corner, search bar, type in what you have with your zip code, and hopefully there'll be a great place to recycle it nearby. For donations, donationtown.org, donationtown.org. Now, I'm sharing all of these resources with you. You can always check jamienovak.com, and under the resources tab, you'll see everything we're talking about and so much more. So they're all printable for free. It's a ton of resources for selling and appraising and donating and recycling and so much more. So I'm going to share a bunch of the top ones with you, but if you need more information or anything else, please head over to jamienovak.com for everything that you might need. All right, so we are tidying up our space. You've chosen your area. Maybe it's the kitchen, the broken chip clip that doesn't hold the bags closed. You know the answer. It's out of here. So you start in these small areas, you do these little projects, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I did that. I did the next cabinet. I did the next cabinet. I did the bakeware. I did the pans. I did the drawer. I did the utensil. I let go of the slotted spoon that's cracked. And now all of a sudden you're like, I can open and close drawers without things falling out. It's wonderful, right? It's slow and steady progress in little timed bits. I love it, and I think you will too. All right, so where else might you be interested in working on different spaces? Well, we talked a little bit about that kitchen area, and hooks can be great for organizing things. So think about one of those like self-adhesive hooks on the back of a kitchen cabinet door where you could hang pot holders. You could even do a few different hooks and put your measuring cups and measuring spoons if they hang from the handle, and that'll free up space in the drawer, which we love as well. We talked about stick-up lighting, which can be really helpful for illuminating the space, because when you can see it, you can make better use of it. So there's so many different areas that you're going to be working on. There's a good chance you're going to start filling up your bag for donation. And now you know Donation Town to maybe get some things out the door to someone who will need and use them. If you wanted to sell items, well, it depends what you have to sell. Of course, there's Facebook Marketplace, and you always want to use the utmost caution. These are probably people that you don't know personally, so you always want to, do it safely. And maybe if you are going to make some sort of an exchange, do a lot of it online. And then maybe if you did need to meet the person, you could meet them at like the parking lot of a police department or something, because you always want to be very, very cautious with that. So of course we have Facebook Marketplace, if that appeals to you. If you prefer to use one of the apps to sell online, well, there's a bunch of them. Poshmark is a really good one for clothing, and that might be another space where you're going to declutter. So we're going to look through the clothes, and we're going to try to decide, of the clothes that I have, when we group them together, you can see how many you have in one particular category, and then you can make the choice of how many do I want to keep, which ones do I wear all the time, which ones aren't my favorite. And you kind of already probably know the answer. So let's say you bought a pair of cargo jean shorts, right? Or maybe some capris, and it came with one of those belts already attached, and you're like, but I don't wear belts. So then maybe this is something that you would pass on, but you would keep the jeans. So you don't have to keep everything, especially even because it's free. All the condiment packets, all the free belts, all the free pens, all the free promotional cups, all of it. Just because it's free, it takes up space in your home. You have to buy organizers to organize it, so now it's not free anymore. And then if you're going to move in the future, you have to spend your time and energy to go through it, or you have to spend money to pack and move it. So it sounds free, but it's really not. I love the idea of just paring down to truly what you use and love, and you kind of know that within the category, right? So ask yourself, would someone use and love this more than I do, or could I possibly sell it? So Poshmark is one idea for selling some of the clothing. You basically just take a really good high quality photo of it in good lighting, maybe on a wooden hanger, and without any wrinkles and stuff, and then put a price on it. So Poshmark is one that you might want to try as well. So we've got a couple of different ideas for how we can share things, how we can sell things. And of course, if you think it might be valuable, if it's some sort of maybe like a treasure, take a look at goantiques.com, Go antiques with an S, goantiques.com, and you can search by category or by descriptors. And of course, our wonderful Ocean County Library has great resources and reference books and reference librarians, and we can look things up in all the wonderful books to see, is your Beanie Baby one of the many that has some value, or is it one that maybe not so much? So there we are with a couple of different ideas. So you're going to set that timer, and actually let's go ahead and try a little jump start together right now. Hopefully you're feeling inspired already. We're about 23 minutes into our program, so there's been maybe some ideas that have gotten you like, you know what, I think I can do this. I do want to go ahead and get started. So if you're ready, we're going to set this timer. I have 5 minutes on our time. I'm going to just kind of guide you through. So let's think about where you'd like to begin. You can just leave this video running, or you could pause it for the next 5 minutes. Depends on where you're going to be working. So is there a tabletop that needs your attention? Is there a box that you've been meaning to unpack? Have you wanted to go through a dresser drawer? Do you have a pile of papers that need to be shred? This is the time to take the action. You could continue to put it on your to-do list and think about it and plan for it, or you can actually start doing it. So it's 5 minutes. If it's a bigger project, you won't be finished. Please don't take everything out of a closet or a cabinet right now. You probably can't put it back in 5 minutes, but you could do one shelf, one drawer, one section, one area, one little pile. We have 5 minutes. You choose where you'd like to begin. So what seems right to you? Something in the kitchen, something in the clothes. Do you need to give your remotes a place to live in your living room so that they're not always lost under the couch cushion? Would you like to take 5 minutes and label the cords for your different devices and your gaming consoles, and which one is the plug for your cell phone? So that again, at a glance, you know what's what. We love a label. So think about how you'd like to spend 5 minutes. If you're feeling digitally cluttered, then go ahead and grab your phone and delete text messages or photos or apps or downloads that are taking up valuable storage space in your phone. So here we go with 5 minutes on our timer. And if you're ready to join me for a teeny tiny tidy up, I'm going to hit start and you're going to do something. If you're like, Jamie, I don't want to do anything. I didn't know I had to work during this video. Sit back, enjoy the program. You don't have to do anything. It's just an invitation if you'd like to. So here we are with 5 minutes on our timer. Let's turn our boring chore of decluttering into a challenge. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. And your timer's ticking, and I'm inviting you to do a teeny tiny tidy up. This might mean that you're going to designate a storage space for something. Maybe you'll even clearly label it. If it's your kitchen pantry, I tend to organize my pantry items in the pantry by the grocery store aisle. So when I make my shopping list, I'm making it in the order of the store. So there's a little tip for you as well. We have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So you're just 30 seconds into this whole tidy up thing. And hopefully you're seeing that you're already maybe getting started. And you're like, wow, this isn't as hard as I thought. I anticipated it would take longer. I thought I was going to be a little more anxious about it. And you know what? Since I'm doing it here in this video, it's not as bad as I anticipated. So hopefully that is the case. You can always come back to this video, watch it again, set the timer, work as you watch the video again and let it all kind of sink in. So please use this as a resource going forward. And maybe you have a friend or a family member that's also expressed an interest in getting organized. That person can be your declutter buddy, right? You can call each other. Maybe you're going to say Fridays at 7 o'clock at night, I'll call you, you call me. We're going to do a teeny tiny tidy up together. We'll cheer each other on. We'll share resources. It can be a wonderful way to stay focused and give yourself that deadline. Another great way to give yourself a deadline with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left on your time, 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. Another great way to give yourself a deadline to make things happen is by scheduling an organization through Donation Town or anywhere else to come and pick up. Because if you know they're coming to pick up stuff, you know you need to make a bag. And so that will automatically create that urgency to get that done for you. So with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left on the timer, you're not even halfway through. Plenty of time to continue making decisions. The idea is not to make more piles. So if it's something you need to read, read it now. If it's something you need to fill it out now. If it's something you need to put away, put it away now. If it's something that needs to go to another room or it needs to be shred or you need to check if it needs to be appraised or you need to schedule a pickup, these are all the things that I'm inviting you to do right now instead of saying you'll do it later and then later never happens. So we are just coming up on 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So we're going to be halfway through in just a moment here. We're going to let this timer continue to tick down and I'm going to tell you that you are now officially halfway through. So you're just halfway through 5 minutes. And if you're like, I can't believe I did all this in just 5 minutes. Maybe going forward, you'll start to time yourself for some of the projects that you do, right? Vacuuming. And you're like, oh, it probably takes it the afternoon or an hour. And then you're like, I can't believe I vacuumed the living room in 3 minutes. So sometimes we can overestimate how long things will take. Sometimes they do take longer. Papers take a long time to go through. So it just, sometimes it does. Sometimes it's emotional. You're reminiscing. You're taking a walk down memory lane. And that happens too. Just be patient, right? So we're just focusing on progress. And as long as you're moving one thing along or maybe working for 5 or 10 minutes, you're seeing that success. 1 minute and 40 seconds left on our timer now. We're coming up on 1 minute and 40 seconds. So you're doing great. And maybe you'll be able to share what you've accomplished. Maybe you want to take a before and after photo. Those can be really powerful. And it's nothing you need to share with anything else. It's just for you. But you can take that before photo and then you look after and you go, you know, I'd forgotten that there was all that stuff in the corner of the room or that the pile on the table was that tall. And then you're like, wow, I really did a lot in that 5 minute window. So we have 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the timer. This is a great technique if you share your home with someone else and you're trying to get other people involved in the decluttering. So you set the timer for 5 minutes, ask everyone to add a thing or two to the donate bag or put 10 things away before the buzzer goes off. And then you're going to have dinner, watch a movie, go for a walk, have dessert, whatever it is, as a little sweet treat or a little reward for a job well done. So we are now down to our final 45 seconds. So our timer continues to tick down and you're doing great. So we'll let that timer go. So just keep making some decisions. If you don't happen to be, physically up and working right now, maybe you're making a list of areas where you do want to focus in on. And again, not, whole house, kitchen, but specific categories so that you can accomplish them in little windows of time. You may not be done before the buzzer goes off, but you'll have made progress. And that's the goal, to work for the dedicated block of time. With our final 15 seconds, here we go. And we're going to count it down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you are done. Way to go. So how did it go? Was it less painful than you were expecting? Did you accomplish more than you ever anticipated? I certainly hope so. So that's that little jump start. And if you did that consistently, once a day, what would change? Right? The things would be put away and you'd be able to find what you're looking for, and maybe you'd find things to share or to sell, or it just feels so great to stay on top of these projects, but it doesn't have to take all afternoon, and you don't have to wait until it builds up and then it takes all weekend, and then who really wants to do this all weekend? So we've got a few different ideas. Let's just do a little recap before we move on. We talked about very early on the idea of grouping like items together. That way you can see how many you have of one particular category. Within that category now, you're going to pare down to what you use and love, and you're going to give those items a home. We're going to store them in a really convenient spot, most convenient to where you find yourself using the item. That way it's super simple to put away. And of course, everything needs a home, because if it doesn't, it's just going to be left out. And items that are left out without a home are, say it with me, clutter. And then of course we're going to contain those items clearly labeled in the storage so you can find what you're looking for at a glance. Now, if you're putting things away seasonally, especially if you have a smaller space or you're trying to pare down, so you're putting away seasonal clothing or you're putting away seasonal things from the kitchen. You use grilling, but then you use, wintry things like a bread machine maybe, even in the garage or different spaces in your home where you're rotating out and you're putting some things away, or you're putting collectibles away and things. Again, I'm going to invite you to think about your phone where you can take a photo. So if you were to take a photo of things that you're going to put away in storage, whether it's books or collectibles or seasonal clothing, whatever it is, then you might print the photo and attach it to the front of the storage box. That way at a glance you go, oh, that's the box that has that, or that's the box that has what I'm looking for. Alternatively, you could leave the photo on your phone, but at least you'd know which box has what. You just have to scroll back and look. Another great way to use your phone when you're trying to get organized and tidy up for the items that maybe aren't doing well in storage or you don't want to store anymore, a great idea would be to take a photo of those special pieces. So whether it's some sort of a collectible and you're like, I don't want to have to dust it anymore, it's had its moment, but it's not my favorite. Maybe it's your teddy bear from childhood. Maybe it's memorabilia from college. This little guy hung on the mobile over my crib growing up. These pieces don't last forever, and when you put them in storage, you don't see them anyway. So taking a photo of it and then either leaving it in your gallery on your phone, or maybe you want to have a digital photo frame that would scroll all the images of treasures and collectibles and souvenirs and things from years gone by. So it's sort of like your own little time capsule on a digital frame. Or if you wanted to print some of those photos and then make like a little photo book, you could sort of, images from my past or something, right? So again, a little time capsule, a little capturing the treasures. So some you can pass on and donate. If you do like these pieces and you're like, oh, but I really do want to keep it. I'm not here to say get rid of all your stuff. We just want to pare down to what you use and love the most. So for these pieces, you might tend to bring them out and decorate seasonally with them. So you could bring them out and maybe, tuck them on a garland in the winter or something. So think about decorating with treasures. Or if you collect treasures, but it's a lot to dust, especially small things that can get lost on a shelf or are hard to maintain, think of adding things to jars or containers so you can have all your teeny tiny seashells, or if you were collecting little pieces from years gone by, Matchbox cars and who knows what else, if you had them in a container, put the lid on and then put it on a shelf, it's a collection all together, so it looks more meaningful than just things scattered about. They don't get lost, they don't get damaged, and most of all, it's so much easier to clean. So that's another idea for some of those treasures that you may have. If you have books, books from college classes, books from high school, books from years gone by. Of course, you can always check with the library. Sometimes they're accepting them for the Friends of the Library book sales. But if that's not a possibility, you might want to consider looking at betterworldbooks.com. Better, B-E-T-T-E-R, betterworldbooks with an S.com. And you just scroll to the bottom, there'll be a location finder, pop in your zip code, and onto the screen comes a list of green drop boxes in different parts of the state. And these ideas work across the board, so wherever you're watching this from. But you can think about maybe donating some of the books there. So see what you have that you might be able to pare down from your bookcases, from the different areas, and especially, books from years gone by, from different classes and things like that. So hopefully now you've got some of those initial ideas. Remember, we're starting with that staging area. Otherwise, what can tend to happen is you start going through areas and then you're making more piles, and then the piles seem messier than it looked before, and you're like, I feel like I'm going in the wrong direction, and we certainly don't want that to happen. So you've got your staging zone. You have your resources for where to share different things. We've got that great technique of setting a timer. I like a 10-minute window. We did 5 just as a little jump start here together during our video through the Ocean County Library. But of course, you could set this. I like a 10-minute window. I feel like it's a little longer so you can get even more done, but it's not so long that you get yourself burnt out. So it's a great way of motivating, and we love that idea of a deadline. So whether the deadline is that you've promised an organization you're going to drop things off, or you've scheduled a pickup, if you have linens to share, extra comforters, bath towels, pool towels, extra throw pillows that aren't your favorite, even cushions from outdoor furniture that have seen better days if you're replacing it all. Don't forget your local pet shelter. The pet shelter, humane societies, they love to be gifted things, cleaning supplies. Do you have a laundry detergent that you don't like? Do you have a spray cleaner that's not your favorite? Do you have extra bowls? Anything that pets could use as they're waiting for their forever home, think about donating to a local humane society or pet shelter. So we talked about lighting, which we absolutely love the idea of illuminating the space so that you can see it. And when you can see the space, you can make a lot better use of it. We'll talk about maximizing space in just a moment. And before we do, I'd like to invite you to think about a step stool. So many times the storage that we need is not really accessible without kind of jumping up to try to get it, or reaching and stretching really far, or not being able to use it at all. So a slim step stool that folds to about 1 to 1.5 inches when folded doesn't take up a lot of space, but depending on the height will give you 6, 8, or maybe even 10 inches of additional height. So you can just step up very carefully, of course. Some of them do have a handle if you prefer that kind, just to be steady on it. But the idea is that you could step up so that even that one shelf that's above the rod in the closet, you fold your clothes and then you toss it up to the shelf and then it falls down, and that's not great. So if you can step up to use that shelf, then that's going to gain you a ton of space. The same in the kitchen, the pantry, the other closets and areas throughout your home. So think about a step stool if that would be a great addition. It's usually fairly inexpensive, so it's not a big strain on the budget. And the $10 or $12, depending on which one you pick up, might be a great investment, because then you can use the space that you have and really maximize it. I do love using shower curtain rings as well. Shower curtain rings are sort of the older fashioned style. I know now it's sort of like a hook for your shower curtain, but these old shower curtain rings, you may have some, so shop at home first, or of course the dollar store sells them, like a pack of 12 for $1. So the way we can use these is to close the ring securely, snap it closed, put it over the neck of a hanger, and that's going to give you a circle where you can hang another hanger. So you can almost make your own version of cascading hangers. So this goes over the neck of the hanger, then the next hanger hangs from here, then the next hanger hangs from the hook. And you can, layer 4 or 5 hangers of clothing. So if you've got a closet that's odd shaped or you can't fit everything in it, I don't love cascading hangers for everyday clothes, because when you're just trying to find something to wear, then you're kind of like in and under stuff and things can fall, and it's not always the easiest for everyday clothes. But I do love the idea of cascading hangers towards the back of the closet for out of season or out of size. So if you're like, well, it might fit me, soon, but not quite yet, but I don't want to get rid of it, having it accessible but not in your way every day when you're just trying to get dressed can be really, really helpful. So different ways of maximizing your space. Don't forget there are things like risers. So the riser will sort of be like a stadium seating, if you will. So you can find things towards the back of the cabinet, especially if it's a deep cabinet, so that things are more accessible. Lazy Susans and turntables are some of my favorite things to organize with. So it's just a turntable. Some have a lip. Some are actually have a full side so things don't spill out. They're great under sinks. They're great in cabinets. They're great even on a vanity where you can just spin what you need towards you, so you're not trying to get all the way to the back. So think about that as well. There are so many organizing products on the market, and I would say before you invest in anything, let's see if we can try it out in your own version at home first. So just taking something like a box and turning it upside down to see if a riser will work for you before you go running and buying bins and containers and things that then you have to either return, or the solution becomes the clutter because you don't end up using it. So try it out if you can before you invest in it. Always check the reviews, and if you have a question about a specific space, please feel free to contact me anytime, and I'd be happy to give you some direction with that. So are you very excited about getting started? I certainly hope that you are. In our final few minutes together, I'd just like you to maybe make a list with me. So I'll invite you to do a little planning sheet if you'd like to. Again, this is totally optional, but I think it's a great way to sort of start focusing your mind on the tasks that are calling for your attention. So if you have a pen and paper handy, or if you're using your device, let's start a new note and let's think about those areas in your home that are annoying you. They're cluttered and you wish they weren't. You wish you could make better use of the space. You know you need to go through it. Maybe it's a box that you moved with and you haven't exactly gone through it yet. So let's just do a little house tour, and your home may be a studio apartment. Your home may have 5 bedrooms. It doesn't really matter the size of your space, right? We want to maximize the space, whatever space you have. So let's think about coming in the door that you use most often. So let's start there. And again, we're just going to start a little bulleted list of the spaces that you'd like to address in time. We're not going to do them all tonight, but we can get started, right? In fact, we already did during our time together. So let's think about that door you use most often to come into your home, whatever door that is. And when you first walk into the entryway, do you have a place for shoes? Do you have a place for your wallet, for your handbag? Do you have a place for your keys? Do you walk a dog? Do you have a place for the leash? How about your umbrella? How about any bags that you're bringing in from the store, or anything you need to take out with you? If you have a work bag or backpack, let's think about all that stuff that's coming in with you. Does it have a place besides just the floor? So whether you need to put hooks or a small table, or you need a little bookcase there, if you can use the closet nearest that space, maybe you can maximize that space. So once you kind of walk into the home, where do you go next? I think a lot of us might walk into a kitchen space, or maybe you do walk directly into your kitchen from your front door. So let's think about that kitchen. How do the countertops look? Can you eat without moving things? How about the windowsill? Top of the refrigerator itself, side of the refrigerator, freezer. How about that frozen food? How long has it been in there? And that refrigerator, do you have wilted herbs that you couldn't identify anymore, or a mini science experiment growing in the back? So it'd be a great thing to tidy that up and relocate the shelves if you needed to make space. The pantry, the cabinets, the drawers, under the sink, and all of those spaces. So think about the kitchen and jot down a few that might, need to be tidied up. And instead of just saying kitchen cabinet, you can be very specific and say mugs or travel mugs or spices or dishes or bakeware, right? So be very specific in the category that you want to tackle. From that kitchen, if you do have a dining area or an eat-in kitchen, something like that, think about any sideboard, any linens, candlesticks that might need to be addressed, or just the dining room table itself. Are there things on the chairs? That would be important to note as well. How about your living room, family room, den? If you have a couch, end table, side table, coffee table, media stand, bookcase, TV stand, entertainment center, video game console. Remember, we were going to label those cords. Do you have a place for the remotes? How's your bookcase looking? So take a look around there, see if there's anything to address before we move on to the powder room, the bathroom, the half bath. So we've got the vanity, we've got drawers, we've got the vanity top. You have under the sink, possibly, unless you have a pedestal sink. How about the shower corners themselves and any linens that you might have in there? The medicine cabinet, bandages, and things like that. Linen cabinet, linen closet. We have the hall closet. We have the entryway closet. And then we have the bedroom closet, the clothes closet, a secondary closet, nightstand under the bed, corner of the bed, some random chair where we've just put stuff. And then let's think about any other spaces you have. Storage spaces, garage, basement, attic, a second bedroom, a home office, a craft room, an exercise room, any other rooms that you may have, any other bedrooms, any other additional spaces. And if you have a storage unit, GoGreenDrop.com, G-O, green, the color green, drop like raindrop, GoGreenDrop.com. You can schedule that organization to come out and pick up from your home, but they are also one of the only ones that I know about that will also come to a storage unit. So if you have a storage unit to start to go through little by little, if there's anything to donate, you can check out GoGreenDrop.com. So now you have your map, right? This is what's going to act as your map of where you're going to go next. So take a look at that list and being very realistic with your time and your energy level and how you're feeling about everything. Where would you like to tackle first? What space either looks most interesting or will be the easiest to kind of keep that motivation going? How much time do you want to dedicate first? And most importantly, when? So I'd invite you to pick your first task, pop that onto your calendar so you're making a date with yourself to make it happen. You're going to set your timer and you're going to get started. I mean, we've already done a little jump start during our time together today. Hopefully that was inspiring you to continue on. Your goal is to work for the length of time. You don't have to worry about the progress as a whole. As long as you're continuing, that's it. So you're never leaving the project half finished because you worked for your goal. You can always come back later and pick up where you left off. We want to always remember to group like with like, store it where you're going to be using it. We give ourselves those clearly labeled containers and always be looking for things that you can share, sell, or get out of the house because new things are always coming. And that's the last tip I'll share with you. Be very careful about what you let in your front door. We talked about those free items. You're just picking stuff up. Maybe you're shopping before you remember to shop at home. And if you continue to bring things in, then as much progress as you make, you're going to have more things to go through. So the idea is to pare down across the board, give yourself access to the things that you use and love, and create a clutter-free and cozy home where you love to spend time. I hope that's what you've started creating during our time together today. This has been Keep This, Toss That, brought to you through the Ocean County Library, part of their Adulting 101 series. Our program, Keep This, Toss That, is based on the book of the same name, available through the library or wherever books are sold. Please don't hesitate to visit jamienovak.com, pass along any questions that you may have, and look at that tab, Resources, for a full list of resources of where to appraise, sell, recycle, and donate things that you have to share today. I can't wait to hear what you're going to do during your next little teeny tiny tidy up. We're going to time you, so set that timer and get started. I hope that you're going to continue on. Maybe you'll do it right now as we wrap up our time. I'm going to invite you to get started. We'll set this timer as I say so long. You have 5 minutes on the clock. Set your timer because we're saying so long. My name is Jamie Novak. I'm an organizing expert and author. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I can't wait to hear what you declutter next. Ready? Begin your timer. We're starting another session. 3, 2, 1, and go. Thanks for spending time with me. A big thank you to the library for having me. Be sure to visit all the other videos in the Adulting 101 series. So long and happy decluttering.
Support public libraries. Like, share, and subscribe for more great videos.